In the picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde, there is an artist named Basil Hallward, and he meets Dorian Gray. And Dorian Gray is young, and he's wealthy, and he's a very attractive man, and he obviously captures the artist's attention. And the artist wants to paint him and like do all these things, and at first it's just like nice, like heroic pictures and whatever, and then the artist really captures like what he thinks of Dorian Gray. And in that, he obviously like pictures him how he thinks of him. And the artist has a friend called Lord Henry. Lord Henry sees the picture and he's like, this is celebrating beauty and wealth and all this stuff that Dorian Gray has. And he talks to Dorian about it, and Dorian sees the picture and he's like, you know, like, you're not gonna look like this forever, like, this is the way that you are now, but, you know, like, beauty fades and stuff like this. And Dorian gets all mad, and becomes obsessed with the idea that now, like, he's not gonna look like that forever, and he's gonna be miserable because he wants to stay the way that he is, and he believes that he only has power and only has what he has because of the way that he looks and acts at this young age. So he takes the picture and he starts to try and do all of these new things, and they're not good things. They're all very bad things. And he's just becoming this bad person. And as it moves on, the picture starts to portray him how he actually is, not the way that he looks anymore. The portrait starts to become morphed into like this bad thing, and that's how he is. And he starts to hide the picture from everyone, and he gets worse and worse in the things that he's doing, and as he's getting worse, so is the picture. He still looks like the person that he looked like in the beginning, but the way that he's acting is this heinous thing that the picture is portraying. And he tries to hide it from everyone, even the artist. And then he shows the artist, and the artist is like, what are you doing, man? Like, what is wrong with you? You need to fix yourself. And he gets so mad that he kills the artist. And things just get worse and worse until he's seeing that the picture is changing into this bad thing, and he wants it to not be like that, so he takes a knife to try and kill the picture, and then he's found stabbed with the knife that he was going to use to kill the picture, because it was also the knife that he had used to kill the artist, Basil. And when they find him, he looks like the morphed version that the picture had showed him as, and the picture went back to what he originally was. He looks like this wrinkled, heinous monster that the picture had showed, when the picture looks like the beautiful thing that he once was. Now, the main literary element found in the picture of Dorian Gray would be symbolism. Obviously, the biggest example of symbolism would be the picture of Dorian Gray. It is the portrait. And this portrait represents Dorian Gray on the inside. Not Dorian Gray on the outside, but in the beginning it is him on the outside because he is like that. He is young, and he is wealthy, and he is beautiful, and whatever. And then he gets this fear that he's not going to be like that forever, and starts to become this bad person. And as he starts to do more and more things, the bad things that he's doing are changing him on the inside, which in turn is changing the portrait. Another example of symbolism is, there are a bunch of smaller examples, that's just the biggest one. Now another one is the flowers. Flowers are seen through a lot of the major events in the story, and these flowers are very relevant to the story because they represent beauty and how short-lived beauty is. It doesn't last. Just like a flower doesn't last. the flowers are seen when he has the flowers to blackmail the doctor with. He just constantly, there's constantly flowers, and it's goes right along with that theme of beauty being fleeting and not lasting. Now the next symbol is acting in the theater. Now, the acting in the theater is a symbol of the methods of escape that people were using. Obviously, Dorian Gray being one of those. It's an escapism. It's how they got away from the bad things going on within themselves. Obviously, Dorian Gray was struggling with a lot in himself, but he used things like the theater and acting to get away from it. And part of this was Sybil. Sybil was an actor, and Dorian said that he loved her. But when she actually loved him and wanted to stop acting so that she could just focus on him, he decided he didn't love her anymore. And he only loved her for the acting, because that was his escape. He used those things as an escape, and he didn't even care when he left and hurt her. And she ended up even killing herself because of it. And he just took it as another theater thing. He was just like, oh, it's just a tragic story. Like, he didn't even care, and it was obviously his fault. Now, another part of the escapism that's seen is with the drugs and the other pleasures that Dorian was chasing. It wasn't, in the story, it's not about the drugs. It's about that he was using those things to escape from himself and how he started acting. Specifically, the portrait is seen throughout the entire story, and it's used in about almost every scene because it's constantly on his mind. It's what's driving him to do these bad things. It's because he's consumed with the idea that he's only young right now, and he's afraid about, like, going on towards the next thing, and it's really changing his portrait. These symbols all show that beauty doesn't last, and the beauty shouldn't be the main focus of anything in life. He was obsessed with the beauty and the youngness that he had, and it didn't do him any good. He ended up becoming this horrible monster, and in the end becoming a wrinkled monster and killing himself because none of the beauty really did anything for him. He just started to become an awful person because of it. The morphing of the portrait shows that it's not what's on the outside that counts. Like, I know that's a cliche thing to say, but it's really not. It's about what's inside. The portrait is depicting him on the inside, not on the outside. Everyone still saw him as, like, this beautiful person. Like, it hadn't changed his looks. But there were other opinions about him. There were rumors going around about him, and what was going on the inside was starting to come out around him, but not in himself, like on himself. He believed that he was still this young, perfect person, and he wanted to stop anyone that would say otherwise. And that's why he killed Basil. And the symbolism is what gets all of the points and themes across in the story. It's kind of funny that even the main symbol is the title of the story, the picture of Dorian Gray. It's the main point to the story. It's all about beauty not actually mattering. Even if other people at first think it does, that's not what's on the inside. And what's on the inside is what really matters and what's going to come through in the end. The author, Oscar Wilde, was really good at making that last point clear. It really is about what's on the inside, and that'll always come through in the end. Beauty isn't going to get you anywhere. That youngness and the way that you look, that's not what's going to really come through. Maybe at first you can fool some people, just like Dorian did, but in the end, everyone saw him as a wrinkled monster, because that's what he was on the inside. He was this awful person, and he was honestly filled with guilt, and that's probably why he did take his life at the end. He couldn't stand to look at that picture, because he knew that that was what he really was. He knew that he wasn't this young, beautiful thing anymore. He knew that he was that, the awful monster that he had seen in the picture. And so the author makes it really clear that obviously in the end, you're gonna look how you acted and look how you treated people.